rocking your drive home from work. It's the Brian Vander Ark Show on Classic Rock 97 LAV.
I have got the legend, Don Barnes, on the air, co-founder, singer, guitarist, 38 Special, celebrating the release of a new album, first album in 20 years, called Milestone, which is out now. That's an appropriate name for this, isn't it?
I couldn't think of any other thing to call it after 50th anniversary commemoration, so Milestone it is,
50 years as a successful musician. That really is something special. And this is the first music from you in 20 years. Is that correct?
Yeah, we just had a long run of live shows. I've got 16 people, and they're all their families depending on me out here to keep this thing running. So we've just been taking care of that, taking care of our people and all that. But, to record an album, you have to carve a lot of time out for recording basic tracks and overdubbing and all that. So we do over 100 cities a year. So we're out there. But this was done in phases. Drop in and do 3 songs, basic tracks, and then go back out and do cities and everything. But finally got here to this day, and glad to see it released.
I love it. Well, I've spent some time with the album, and it's a terrific album.
Thank you.
I was surprised by slightly controversial with Pat Monahan from Train. Now, I know Pat. My band, the Verve Pipe, has played with Train many times, and he's a great guy. Can you talk a little bit about how that collaboration happened?
Yeah, he was, well, first of all, we were trying to make a more of a modern 2025 version of 38 Special, and we reaching out. He had done a version of Hold On Loosely with Joe Bonamassa, the guitarist, and they'd released it to YouTube. We got over 1 million hits on YouTube, and I thought, I'm going to reach out to his manager and see if he would like to sing a duet, just because, he done such a great job on that. I complimented him on the intensity of their version and everything. Got a hold of him, and he said he would be glad to do it. He'd love to do it. He's been a lifelong fan.
It's fantastic. What I think Pat added to that, to your sound, is that soulfulness in his voice, which is really terrific. Yeah, which is really terrific.
Yeah, he did. He puts his ad libs. I told him, I said, let's just be free with it. It's kind of a angular, rude kind of song, with the chorus. He said, let's go for the rude stuff. I said, we'll just. I gave him my two demos of songs, and the first one was a little more mild, and he said, no, I like to let's do the stronger one. So that one's in your face, kind of aggressive. You're
no stranger to collaboration. Of course, you've worked with Jim Peterick many times, who's a fantastic songwriter, singer, of course, survivor, and he co-wrote Hold On Loosely with you. Now, I got to tell you, my favorite track on this album is All I Haven't Said. That's a fantastic song.
Thank you.
Tell me a little bit about that one.
That was kind of my diamond. I had, it was funny how it came about. I was just sitting at the dining room table, and I was strumming some major 7th chords and just kind of, messing around. And my wife was in the kitchen. She goes, oh, what's that? Oh, just something I was just noodling around with. She came around the corner. She said, that sounds like that should be called All I Haven't Said. Right out clear blue. I was like,
she came up with the title.
Yeah, I said, say that again. I said, that's a great title. I said, you got any more compelling titles with it? She said, well, you play some more compelling chords, and maybe I'll come up with something. So she sat down, and we started writing it. I said, well, let's put it together. So she helped me, write lyrics. I had it about 3/4 of the way done before I took it to Jim Peterick, and he tweaked it, and we did some extra things on it, but. Yeah, it was funny. She's a songwriter now. She's signing up. She was signing up for ASCAP and all that. She's telling me, I need to start my own publishing company. I said, honey.
Well, as you know, having somebody lay a title in your lap like that's very helpful for songwriting, for lyric writing, right?
It absolutely is. Well, we have, songwriters have books of lines for songs and titles. If you open your notebooks when you're trying to come up with something, and if you sing one of those lines, it might be line 3 in a verse or something, but it happens to sing well in there. So I was telling my wife, I said, what would you say? What's the most ultimate thing you could say? And I said, what about I would shout it from the mountaintops. And she said, ooh, what about I would write it across the sky how much I loved you. And so my wife she was pretty instrumental in it, It was a throwback to the kind of the jangly guitar, the Birds and the Searchers and all the thing. I was big fans of all that stuff back then. So it was.
Yeah, what I was going to say, I was going to bring this up too, doing a deep dive into the catalog. I've always thought you had catchier melodies than a lot of the Southern rock bands. And then I read you were into the British Invasion. And I was like, oh, there it is, right there.
We were from the South. There's a lot of blues-oriented bands down there. We're from Jacksonville, Florida. It was a Navy town. Dwayne, Alvin, Greg, we all played Sailors Clubs when we were 15 years old. It was like the Liverpool of the South. And so we all learned all these structures of songs and cover songs back then. Then you start seeing the pattern and how the payoff goes and all that. And then you start to get a little cocky and you think, well, I can write my own songs. And that's when you go starve for the next 10 years. So not something I highly recommend. But, so that melody choice, we always loved this stuff, from the Searchers and the Animals, Beatles, obviously, and melody and muscle, we call it, muscle and melody. Yeah.
Let's talk about touring a little bit. Coming to Mount Pleasant, Michigan on November 8th. You're still touring after all these years. Can you tell me, how has touring changed for you since the early days?
It's gotten more streamlined. We're able to get it out there. First of all, that's our forte, the live shows. We're better at that than the studio work and all that. We've always loved, we were young boys with a dream, we made all our mistakes in public, so we learned how to hone a craft of putting a live show and take them for a ride. We bang these songs up against each other and everything. But they used to have these day sheets, and they'd have a guy go around and, in the old days, and slip a sheet under the door of what the schedule is, and all that. Now there's an app on a phone, it's called a master tour, and nobody asks any questions. Where are we going to be? What time is it? All that. It's just all on your phone. Check the app, so
makes it a little easier. Yep, makes it a little easier.
No more feeding the doors,
How do you keep those pipes of yours in shape? That many shows a year?
Man, I learned, I was sang in chorus in the 7th and 8th grade, junior high school and high school. So it was kind of a easy credit back then. And we were, among 60 other people. But you did have this early training of how to use the diaphragm and don't blow too much air out of the pipe, because that wears it out. You can't do that every night, for a year, every year. So you learn to contain it and keep it down in your diaphragm, and like I said, just don't wear the pipe out too much. It's a pretty delicate little instrument. So
really
a lot of these guys sing from their face, and I can name a few right now that they can't sing anymore because they've ruined it. They've singing from the face.
Right.
If you have to sing from way down in the diaphragm to keep all that going. So I've been lucky about that. People after the shows, people think, well, I can't believe you're even talking right now. You after just an hour and a half of this. So anyway, I'm able to channel it, and when the high notes are coming up, I'm like pushing it down in the diaphragm. You kind of visualize that stuff. It's funny. I was telling Kevin Cronin, I said, I look out there and I see the exit signs, and I'm just placing the high notes up on the exit signs. Anything like that. It's kind of a visual strength of seeing the note. Yeah.
Right. Well, Don Barnes, co-founder, singer, guitarist, 38 Special. The new album is out right now called Milestone. You're coming to Mount Pleasant, Michigan on November 8th. What a pleasure to talk to you. I'm a huge fan, like I said. It really is just an absolute pleasure.
Oh, thank you, Brian. I appreciate you having me on, and congratulations on your success of your career and everything. And hope everybody comes out. We're bringing the party. Everybody knows that 38 Special brings that party. We try to draw the crowd in. It's a big celebration of that brotherhood all these years. We actually still like each other after all these years. That's pretty
That's rare. Yes, I understand that.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again, Don. Nice to talk to you, man.
You too, Ryan. Thanks so much for having me on.
Stream the Brian Vander Ark Show for free today. Download the Classic Rock 97 LAV app in the App Store or Google Play Store today.